went down to Mexico with some friends to celebrate someone's birthday. And just one day into that vacation, she turned up dead. And now officials have another big problem on their hands. Their prime suspect is no longer in the country.
The last breath she took out of her body.
What happens when a group of supposed friends turn on one person? Not strangers, not enemies. People she laughed with, people she chose to travel with, people she trusted enough to get on a plane with and cross an international border. What happens when one of them decides to beat her to death? Not in a moment of rage, not by accident, but slowly, deliberately, while the others stand around and watch, while some of them cheer, while none of them call for help. What happens when she stops fighting back? Not because she gave up, but because her body simply couldn't take anymore, and she let the worst happen. And then what happens when those same people pack their bags, fly back home, sit across from her mother, look her in the eyes, and lie? They said it was alcohol. They said she just had too much to drink. They came home and they lied, every single one of them. And they almost got away with it, almost, because someone in that group leaked the video. And think about why. Not to expose the truth, not out of guilt. That video was leaked to send a message, to say, look what we did and watch nothing happen to us. And they were right, because Shanquella Robinson is gone. And the people responsible for her death? They are out here, living, moving, doing life like nothing happened. One of them even changed her name, as if a new name could bury what the whole world already saw. This is the case of Shanquella Robinson, one of the most heartbreaking, most infuriating, most disturbing unsolved cases in recent American history. A 25-year-old woman who got on a plane with 6 friends and never came home. And 3 years later, her mother is still in courtrooms, still fighting, still waiting, while the people who were in that room walk free. Let me take you through every single detail. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, share this video, hit subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment. One share could be the reason this story reaches someone who can actually do something about it. It keeps cases like this breathing. Now let's get into it. Shanquella Robinson was 25 years old. From Charlotte, North Carolina. She ran her own hair business, ambitious, self-made, quietly building something she could be proud of. Her mother, Sallamondra Robinson, has described her as her best friend. Not just a daughter, a best friend. The kind of person who called just to talk. The kind of woman whose laugh filled a room before she even said a word. Growing up, Quella was a cheerleader at West Charlotte High School. Energetic, outgoing, the girl everyone remembered. She loved fashion, loved getting dressed, loved looking fresh, and was always just one phone call away. She left West Charlotte and went on to attend Winston-Salem State University, a historically Black university, where she earned her degree and built some of the friendships that would later become the most important and the most devastating of her life. After graduating, Shanquella didn't slow down. She threw herself into entrepreneurship. She built 2 businesses with her own hands. The first was Exquisite Boutique, a women's clothing brand she ran and promoted on social media. The second was Exquisite Kids & Co., a children's hair braiding salon serving kids between the ages of 1 and 12. At just 25 years old, she had over 46,000 followers on Instagram and 2 growing businesses. She was building something real. Shanquella was just a girl living her life. October 28, 2022, Shanquella was supposed to go on a trip with a few of her friends. The trip to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. It was organized to celebrate the birthday of a friend named Dejanai Jackson. Shanquella and Dejanai had crossed paths at Winston-Salem State University. They were not the closest people in the world. Multiple sources have described the wider group as loose acquaintances from university rather than a tight inner circle. But Shanquella decided to go because it was a birthday trip, because friends were going. There was one person in that group she was genuinely close to. His name is Khalil Cook. They had been best friends for nearly 5 years. According to Shanquella's mom, Khalil was practically family, the kind of friend who joined family vacations, the kind of person Shanquella trusted completely. It was a complete group of 6, Dejanai Jackson, Khalil Cook, Elise Hyatt, Winter Donovan, Malik Dyer, and Shanquella. A seventh person, Nazir Wiggins, would join them the following day. Here is a detail that has never sat right. According to a close friend of Shanquella, who was not on the trip, it was Shanquella herself who paid for the villa. A luxury 5-bedroom property called Villa Linda 32, located inside the exclusive Fundadoras gated community in Cabo San Lucas, with ocean views and access to a private beach club. The nightly rate? $1,600 a night. Shanquella Robinson paid for the villa, and she never made it home from it. The group departed on Friday, October 28, 2022, from Charlotte, North Carolina. They arrived in Cabo, settled into Villa Linda 32. That night, Shanquella called her mother to let her know she had arrived safely. She said she would call again the next day. That was the last real conversation they had. When the 6 friends flew back to the United States, alone, they carried her belongings with them. And when they reached her mother, Sallamondra, the story they told was simple. Alcohol poisoning. She drank too much, a terrible accident. She didn't make it. Nothing more. But here is where the story takes a darker turn. A video began to circulate, and once it hit the internet, there was no pulling it back. The footage shows a bedroom inside the villa. A young woman, unclothed, disoriented, barely able to hold herself upright, is being struck repeatedly. Her face, her head, her neck. She is not fighting back. She cannot fight back. She is completely exposed and completely defenseless. The woman landing the blows has since been identified in court documents as Dejane Jackson. The others in that room are watching. Some are recording. A voice on the footage asks whether she can even put up a fight. Not one person intervenes. A doctor was eventually called to the villa. The group told him she was dehydrated from drinking. According to FBI documents released later, witnesses who saw the condition of her body described bruising so extensive it looked as though she had been stomped on. She was pronounced dead shortly after the doctor arrived. Mexican authorities conducted an autopsy. Their conclusion was not alcohol poisoning. According to their findings, the cause of death was a broken neck and severe spinal cord injury. A second autopsy was then conducted in Charlotte, North Carolina. That examination found the spine was intact, directly contradicting everything Mexico had concluded. 2 countries, 2 autopsies, 2 completely opposite findings. The official cause of death remains disputed to this day. And then, the moment that should have changed everything. Mexican prosecutors identified a direct aggressor within the travel group, Dejane Jackson. An arrest warrant was issued. It was sent through proper international channels to the U.S. State Department to be forwarded to American law enforcement so an arrest could be made on U.S. soil. The State Department never forwarded it. The warrant disappeared quietly into a bureaucratic void. No arrest was ever made. The FBI opened an investigation. Shanquella's family met with federal investigators. They were granted a meeting with former President Biden. There was momentum. There was a moment where justice felt possible. Then the FBI released over 100 pages of investigation documents, most of them blacked out with heavy redaction. What little remained visible revealed that the Bureau had sent 11 specific questions to Mexican prosecutors in January 2023, covering surveillance footage, 911 recordings, property records, and the full autopsy report. There is no response from Mexico anywhere in those documents. 11 questions, sent into complete silence, and the FBI accepted that silence. FBI statement, April 2023, after a thorough investigation, the available evidence does not support a federal prosecution at this time. The case was closed. The 6 people who traveled to Cabo San Lucas with Shanquella Robinson, publicly known as the Cabo Six, all American citizens, all returned home on American passports. Not one of them has faced a single criminal charge. In October 2024, Sallamondra Robinson filed a civil wrongful death lawsuit against all 6. The charges: wrongful death, battery, negligence, civil conspiracy, and emotional distress. And this is where it becomes an absolute nightmare. 4 defendants, Hyatt, Donovan, Dyer, and Cook, argued that if a trial must happen, it should happen in Mexico. Not in North Carolina. Not in the United States, where they all live. Mexico. The same country where an investigation went cold, where questions went unanswered, where a warrant was issued and then vanished. They are not choosing Mexico out of principle. They are choosing Mexico because they know what happens to cases there. And then there is Dayhanai Jackson. She is now going by the name Imani Green. According to court filings from Sallamondra Robinson dated July 2025, process servers spent weeks hunting her down between addresses in Connecticut and North Carolina. They located her vehicle outside a Hartford, Connecticut address. She never came to the door. She was eventually served on May 7, 2025, through a co-resident at a North Carolina address. When she finally responded in federal court, representing herself, she denied every allegation. She claimed improper service. She claimed the statute of limitations had passed. She filed a motion to dismiss the entire case, and then she filed something that stopped people cold. In her amended answer filed June 18, 2025, Imani Green, the woman the entire world watched on that video, claimed self-defense. Self-defense. Against a woman who was unclothed, disoriented, and physically unable to defend herself. According to WCNC Charlotte, June 2025, Green filed an amended answer arguing the lawsuit should be dismissed, claiming Robinson's behavior and disputing her own role in any altercation. The video exists. The whole world has seen it, and she is standing in court saying it did not happen the way it looked.
Shanquella Robinson. So thank you, Dr. Davis. And we certainly want to thank Equal Justice Now, our national civil rights organization, and what could be more prophetic than to have Equal Justice Now have a forum where we're demanding equal justice now.
In April
for
2025,
Shanquella Robinson.
Attorney Ben Crump stood at a podium in Greensboro, North Carolina, and announced a federal lawsuit against the FBI and the U.S. State Department. $100 million. The charge: deliberate lack of diligence in the investigation of an American citizen killed on foreign soil. In June 2025, a federal judge dismissed that lawsuit, agreeing with the government on all 5 of its arguments to throw it out. All 5. The family lost. Again, every door closed. Now consider this. 1 year before Shanquella Robinson died, a young woman named Gabby Petito went missing on a road trip. Her case dominated national news within days. Cable networks ran it around the clock. The FBI launched an immediate, coordinated, high-profile investigation. Her killer was identified in under a month. Shanquella Robinson's case had a video. The world saw what happened. And 3 years later, not one arrest. Not in the United States. Not in Mexico. Nowhere. Attorneys? Ben Crump and Sue Ann Robinson, October 2025. 3 years have passed since Shanquella's life was taken, yet her family still waits for justice. The fact that no criminal charges have been brought is not only heartbreaking, it is unacceptable. Her father, Bernard, said it plainly at her 3-year memorial. As a father just sitting here knowing she suffered, and I couldn't do nothing for her, and I couldn't protect her. That was my plan. She'll bury me, not me burying her. All I'm asking is for the United States of America to step in and make it right. Just make it right. And the internet? This right here is the part of the story that matters more than any courtroom. Because when the FBI closed the case, when the State Department buried the warrant, when the government decided Shanquella Robinson was not worth the effort, it was not a lawyer or a politician or a news anchor who refused to accept that. It was ordinary people, on their phones, in their bedrooms, on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. People who had never met Shanquella, but who watched that video and felt it in their chest. The hashtag Justice for Shanquella trended globally. Hundreds of thousands of people signed petitions. Community rallies packed churches across Charlotte. NBA star Kyrie Irving donated $65,000 to the family's GoFundMe, not because anyone asked him to, but because he saw the story and he could not look away. Sallamondra Robinson herself acknowledged it. She said publicly that she does not believe this case would have received any attention from authorities or media at all without social media. Think about what that means. A warrant was issued in Mexico and buried by the U.S. government. The FBI closed the case, and the only reason anyone in a position of power was even forced to acknowledge that Shanquella Robinson existed was because ordinary people refused to scroll past. People across the internet made the connections that the authorities refused to make. They pointed out the Gabby Petito comparison without being prompted. They asked the questions publicly that investigators were not asking in private. They shared, they posted, they commented. They kept the name alive, and they are still doing it. 3 years later, on every anniversary, every time a new court filing drops, every time Imani Green does something in that courtroom, it goes back online. People are watching, people are furious, people are asking the same question they have been asking since November 2022. How is everyone who was in that room still free? 3 years. The community did not move on, the internet did not forget, and that is the only reason this case still has any oxygen at all. Slow everything down here. Let this breathe. Sallamondra Robinson lost her daughter on October 29, 2022. Every day since that day, she has been fighting. Lawyers, courtrooms, federal filings, watching defendants change their names, watching the FBI close its file, watching a federal judge dismiss her case against the government, and she has not stopped. Because Shanquella was 25, she had a business she was building with her own hands. She had a mother who called her a best friend. She had a life that was taken from her, not by illness, not by accident, but by people who were in that room with her, people who flew home and lied, people who are still out here. Free. Here is where this case stands today. The wrongful death civil lawsuit against the Cabo Six remains active in the Western District of North Carolina, but it is under siege from every angle. Imani Green is arguing self-defense and pushing for full dismissal. The other defendants want the case relocated to Mexico. No final ruling has been made, no trial date has been set, no criminal charges have been filed, anywhere. The arrest warrant Mexico issued, the one that should have triggered an immediate arrest on American soil, was never forwarded. The FBI investigation is permanently closed. The federal lawsuit against the government agencies that failed her was thrown out by a judge. The only thing keeping this case alive is noise. It has always been noise. Public pressure, shares, comments, videos, people who refuse to let this become a story that just fades away. So, what is the verdict here? Do the people responsible ever face consequences? Does the system ever answer for abandoning this family? Or does this become another case that disappears into the archives while the people who were in that room continue living their lives? Drop it in the comments. What do you think? And if this video moved something, share it. Not for the numbers, for Shanquella, for Sallamondra, for every family sitting in a courtroom somewhere fighting for a